So today I'm going to be looking at different methods of getting stone in Valheim to see which of them is the fastest method. Now what I've done is I've set my skill up to level 100 for pickaxes. That means that it will be exactly the same for all of the methods. I'm also going to be using the same premium foods that you see here to give myself a lot of stamina throughout these things, and I'm going to be in God and Ghost mode so that we're not going to have to factor in any like dealing with mobs and that sort of thing. The idea is to try and keep as many things equal as we possibly can so that when I do these tests and we have a little numbers thing at the end as a comparison of which method is actually the fastest, they weren't affected by exterior variables to the best of our ability, that is. Now I'm going to be doing three methods today. First method I'm going to do is digging a trench. Now the reason I'm doing this is it's a bit of a control variable. This is probably one of the worst ways to get stone, but it's a baseline way of if you're just literally digging the land, what actually happens, how much stone do you get. The other thing I wanted to do was kind of know exactly how much stone you get from this, because a lot of us dig trenches around our bases and such, so I thought it'd be a good idea to do. The second method I'm going to do is go mining in the meadows like you see here. We've got all these different rocks that we can run up to and just give a good whack to. Now I don't know how this method is going to fare versus the third method, which will be mining in the plains, mining those big rock structures and making them tumble on themselves. I assume that is going to be by far the fastest method. However, at least it will be a good comparison to see which of the three is the best, and it depends obviously as well what stage of the game you're at and that kind of thing. I will be using a iron pickaxe for this whole thing up to level 4, again keeping everything exactly the same here, all the variables equal. So that's how we're going to do it, guys. Let's jump through the methods. Once again, like the wood video I did recently, I will put down the in the video, I'll put some chapters in so you can skip on to the bits that you want. A final thing to mention, I will not be using any boss abilities for this. Obviously there isn't really a boss ability for mining. You could argue that the Eikthyr ability could be helpful, but if I don't use one at all, then again that's keeping another variable the same. So for method number 1, I'm just going to be digging a trench here in the meadows, and then any rock we get we're going to go ahead and put in this cart. Now with all of the methods today, what I'm going to do is do each of them for 10 minutes, and that way we can see like how much we get in 10 minutes of doing each of them, again keeping something the same here. So yeah, let me go ahead and do 10 minutes this, and then let's see how much rock we get. So to be honest guys, I thought this method was going to be really rubbish, like just completely pointless, but I thought I would try it out anyway just so we know what the numbers are like. But I have to say I was actually really surprised, because it turns out it was way more rubbish than I could ever have imagined. We got, you know, the best thing about this, we got exactly 50 stone, and I dug a trench that actually met up. This is a rectangle. If I fly up here, it was an actual rectangle trench. So that's kind of cool that that worked out. I did try to time it right, but I didn't think I'd get it as spot on as I did. And by the way, this isn't me like, oh, I went for, you know, like an extra 20 seconds. Just no, this actually worked out perfectly, which was kind of cool. But yes, basically don't do this method. This method is great for making a trench. It is terrible for getting stone. Let's move on to the next method. Okay, so for the next method, what I'm going to do is go around to all these different rocks that we see in the meadows biome and mine all of those to see how much stone we get in 10 minutes of doing that, as a comparison to the previous rather pants method that we did. So once again, I'll spawn in some butte berries, eat those up, give myself the stamina back to keep all variables the same. Do this for 10 minutes, and then you'll get an update as to how much stone we get in the cart by the end. Well guys, I have to say this really did surprise me, but this time in a good way, because we got 811 stone from the time spent doing that. Now I should mention that of course I have put my mining skill right the way up, as I said at the start, to level 100, so that's going to make a big difference, and we are using the best pickaxe we can use in the game. But even so, that really surprised me that we got this much. So this is actually quite a viable method, and you know, late game it's going to be an interesting one actually to see how it compares against the next method, which will be taking down those big rocks in the plains. So I want to do that, and then we'll review all of this at the end. But yeah, I was pretty surprised by that one. So the final test is the one that I am expecting will yield the most rock, and it's going to be chopping down these big rock towers. So if you didn't know, if you just chop through the bottom of these, then as long as there's no bit that is too close to the floor, the whole thing above it will crumble and you will get yourself a ton of rock. So you've got one here, there's one over here, there's some like over in the distance as well. So obviously the difficulty really is in finding enough of these close together, and that's going to be the highest variable when doing this method. But I'll do it my best with what we've got around here, and again we'll do this for 10 minutes and see how many rock we get into the cart at the end of it. Alright guys, so the 10 minutes is up, and the amount of stone we got from this one is quite impressive. We filled an entire cart here and got a good way through the next one, totaling 1,491 stone in total. Now just to say, obviously the difficulty with this thing is you need to find obviously those tall stone structures in the first place, and then once you start start taking them down, you can sometimes have to run long distances and be exploring through the plains without actually finding any. If you contrast that to the meadows, just about every meadows biome I've ever been to is pretty filled with stone, so you've got that. However, another little caveat to that is obviously these big rocks you see here behind me. You do get these in the plains as well, which you can cut down. So essentially it does look like the plains is just the best place to go in order to cut down the rock. So essentially I feel this video has proved nothing. I think that we kind of already all knew this. I just wanted to put it to a test, see what the difference actually was. And that's it, guys. This might be a very pointless video. You might have wasted your time watching it. I apologize. Maybe I can make up for it for the dad jokes that are about to come. But yeah, thanks for watching anyway, and I'll see you in the next one, which will hopefully be a little more useful. What did the rock say to her boyfriend? I'll never take you for granite. Why was the pebble so upset? He'd finally hit rock bottom. When were rock jokes the funniest? During the Stone Age. My rock collection has so much sedimental value. Did you hear about the geologist who had a bad first day at his new job? He was off to a rocky start. What do you do if you see a rock in trouble? Give it some assist stones. What do you call a pebble going down a hill? Rock and roll.